In my life, my better half and I lived a very beautiful life together. But something happened that broke me badly. As a matter of fact, I was destroyed by it. However, it was now my turn to teach her a lesson. There was a time when she thought I was the dumbest, but she was about to see my real face when she finally got to me. The two of us met 3 years ago and naturally got attracted to each other, which led us to become very close very quickly. As a result of a breakup with a girl, I was hurt badly and I was broken. Initially, I was not ready for a relationship. But one day I met Arena while she was working at a real estate office as a secretary. It was only a matter of a few months before we became friends and started dating. There has never been a girl as beautiful as this one. There was no doubt that she has been the first woman I had ever met who loved me very much. In order to start our new story, we were brought together by our love and were able to get married. As a result of marriage, everything changed to a point where it seemed like heaven. Nevertheless, I did not realize this heaven would one day be changed into hell for me, as I did not know what was coming. That was a month ago when it happened. It was told to me by one of my neighbors that he has seen a man coming to my house many times in my absence in the past. There may have been something wrong with his reasoning at the time, so I didn't take it seriously at the time. As a matter of fact, I told him to mind his own business, and that was the end of it. As a matter of fact, I was thinking that the man must be my wife, Arena's 29 years old brother. As a branch manager in a tobacco company, I was responsible for a wide range of activities. The job I had was a bit hectic and also a little challenging at the same time. In addition, the job timing was one of the most exotic aspects of the job. She was a housewife. In accordance with her wish, she wanted to spend time at home since she had struggled for many years before marriage for herself, so the intention was to give her every comfort she deserved. It was even impossible for me to be strict on anything at all. Now that I have looked back on it, I strongly believe it was my fault for trusting her without giving her any guidance. It was clear to me about her routine that she has joined classes in dancing, a gym, and had begun swimming. However, the day my neighbor told me about a man, I was intrigued. Our lives have been filled with problems from here. It was after this that she went to a girls' beach party over the weekend with her friends. She came home late at night and fell asleep because she had been drinking heavily for a long time. On the morning of the following day, I went to her side of the bed and found her purse on the ground. Everything had fallen to the ground because its zip had been opened. Once I started picking up all of those things, a condom pack was among the things that I discovered. In the past, she used to buy it for me on her own. It was a totally different brand. In fact, I had tried it once and I found it to be a little allergic to me. There was something unusual about it because she was well aware of my allergy when I told her about it. The last time we used that brand was a long time ago. As a result of some severe itching and swelling, I experienced some very uncomfortable feelings. I cannot even begin to describe how painful that experience was for me. As a result of using it, I went to a hospital in the middle of the night in an emergency room. However, I could not understand why she purchased it because it did not make any sense to me. But then, I had to prepare breakfast for her, so I did that. It was my intention to ask her when she would be woken up, because that is what I intended to ask her. As soon as she woke up, I asked her about it while having breakfast in the morning. In the first place, I noticed that her face was filled with astonishment. Later, she smiled lightly at me and said that she had bought for me. But since she was in a hurry, she picked out that brand for me. After I had spoken to her, whenever I recalled her face expressions, I would say that there must have been something wrong with her. As a matter of fact, another story happened one day when she informed me that she had to go to her friend Nadia to spend the night with her. It did not matter to me that she went there and spent the night there. On that particular evening, however, we had to visit my cousin's house for dinner, and while that was a planned event, her visit to the house of her friend was not. Then I told her that if she wanted to go to her friend's house another day, she could, but she then started to argue that she had to go tonight. I was in the middle of the heated argument with her, but then I normalized it and told her to leave. That was the first time she had done something like this. There was an official meeting that I had to attend, for which I had to travel to Georgia. It was convenient for me to go there, so I did, since I was deeply in love with my wife. When I arrived in the hotel at night, I tried to chat with her as soon as I arrived. In the first place, I called her twice, but she didn't reply. But then she texted me that she was in the gym, that's why she didn't answer. The time was 8 o'clock in the evening. When I asked her if she had changed her gym timing, she replied that she'd had that. In spite of this, she said yes anyway, while that night I chatted with her at 11 p.m. and then she said that she had to go to bed, and that was the end of our conversation. In spite of my best efforts, I was unable to get to sleep because I was accustomed to sleeping with her, and so I was disturbed by her absence. My next step was to make her aware that I missed her on WhatsApp by sending her a message. Her WhatsApp, however, did not show that message as a double tick or a blue tick. Her mobile internet appears to have been turned off while she was sleeping. As soon as I opened my Instagram account, I started scrolling to the photos where I saw her online and logged in. The reason I asked myself was that if she is sleeping and her internet is off, how is it possible that she is online in Instagram while sleeping? Next morning, it was still early in the morning. As I called her and asked her about what happened, she told me that it had been an unfortunate accident, that she fell asleep while scrolling through Instagram. After a few days, I met her friend and I asked how her evening with Arena was. Do they seem to have a good time? In her response, she said yes, they had fun, but Arena had to depart from her home at about 2 a.m. in the middle of the night. This was a shock to me when I was thinking where she was the whole night as I was trying to figure out where she was. It is a fact that according to her, she came home from a friend's house at noon on that day. My understanding of the situation had now become clear to me. There was something terribly wrong with what was happening. In addition to that event, her recent suspicious activities were also indicating to me that she was betraying me about a few days prior. Because of that, it triggered to me a memory of the day when my neighbor told me that, in my absence, he noticed a strange man. As soon as I met him, I asked him exactly what had happened. A man coming home in a suspicious manner was said to have been seen by him. Whenever I wasn't at home, it was mostly at night that man came. There is something about her act that makes me very, very doubtful. In exchange for her cheating on me, I decided to spy on her in order to find out what really happened and to finally do what I have to do. Having found out that she was cheating on me, it was a foregone conclusion that she was committing adultery. Despite the fact that I was not quite relaxed, and other than that, my job was very hard for that, so I had to give it my full attention. But it was difficult for me to do work with full attention, so I got leave from my boss and walked out of the office. It was my intention to buy some spy cameras for my house and insert them in the home as soon as that man came into my absence. In order to purchase the cameras, I went to the market. Upon receiving them, I am given detailed instructions on how to install them by myself. In the absence of Arena at home, all of the cameras in my house have been installed by me. It was my plan to give them a chance to meet each other. Thus, I leave my house in an intentional manner for a long period of time. For the sake of seeing what they would do, I decided to put them to the test. As well as that, I had to check her cell phone as well. Although I tried many times, I never got a chance to succeed. Every time I asked her to give me her phone, she refused to do so. It only took a few months for her to change the topic and try to get physically involved with me, for the purpose of distorting me. Eventually, it was while she was sleeping that it occurred. As soon as I saw the opportunity, I grabbed the phone and took advantage of it. Having already seen her cell phone pin, I have already been able to unlock it. As soon as I opened it, I started scrolling through it. There were only 4 messages from a man named Jeff that I found in the folder. The previous chats have all been deleted from the system. Due to the fact that I did not have enough time, I put her cell phone on the table when I did not find anything important after checking for 30 minutes. Every day, my routine would spend a couple of hours out of the house and then come back to check the recordings that had been made. A few days later, after checking the recordings for 9 days, I discovered that she was getting physical with a man. I am also listening to their talks along with that. While she was laughing, she told him that her husband was the dumbest person she had ever met and that she also made fun of my performance while we were in bed. As they were having a conversation between them, it was the man who asked her why she was with her husband in the first place. According to her, it was because of his money and the freedom that I had given her. The thought of this makes me feel broken inside. My love and loyalty to her was being taken advantage of by her. There was a feeling that I was less than a man in that situation. I was experiencing a very strange physical situation at that time. The recording had frozen me. I couldn't even move my head from the recording. I watched it again and again because I was not willing to believe what she said about me. Due to the severity of my condition on that particular night, it was one of my toughest nights in my life, and I could say that it was one of the most difficult nights. Nevertheless, I became mentally prepared to make her life as miserable as possible. She's no longer a person I wish to live with. It was my intention to punish her in some way. For that procedure, however, I had to wait and tolerate her for a few more days before I could proceed. The following day, I asked her if she would mind signing a few papers for me to purchase a property in her name and coming with me to my office to sign is all needed from her. Despite the fact that she could see her profit from the purchase of the property, she agreed to the deal. After signing the papers, she was filled with joy. This was actually a set of documents that were related to a loan of around $40,000. Eventually, after a period of 10 days, I was able to receive my loan. Then came the time for the further proceeding to take place. The next morning, I left the house without telling her anything about what had happened. The first thing I did was to go to the bank and block all her credit cards from which she was using and spending almost all of my money on her. My next step was to withdraw all the money from the joint account that was shared. There was no doubt in my mind that she would be delighted to be free now that she could do whatever she wants. I was in the city at the time, but I was ghosting her while I was there. There were all kinds of documents on which I had signatures on, and I had all the documents. Moreover, I had decided to sell my house. It was now up to her to take care of herself. At this point, she did not have anything left to give. She called me 100 times after 2 days and asked me why I had blocked everything and when I had got the loan of $40,000 and where she would get the loan back. I sent her the recording and I told her that you ought to think about all this before doing such a nasty act. It was then that she started begging me to come back and pay for all the things for her. She said that she is your wife, so how are you able to do such a thing? The fraud you committed on me to get a loan on my name is a big mystery to me. In addition to that, I had sent her intimate recording to her contacts so that they could listen to it. As soon as I sold my home, it was clear that she was on the streets. In the event that she did something to me, she would face the consequence of her actions. At that time, she did not value me, nor did she have an idea of what I was worth of her at that time. As she was just enjoying her life, she did not know that one day her crime would come to light or she would be put in the limelight. The acts of God are what made all of this possible. However, I just told her that I would deliver her divorce papers and that she would have to pay the loan back. Now it is up to her business to make sure she pays back the loan from where and how she can. She is in the hell.